Welcome. My name is Beth Rougeau, Marketing Service Leader at GEP, and on today's webinar, I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Abhinav and Mohana, to speak about how to unlock efficiency and value through intelligent process redesign on today's LinkedIn Live Reimagining Procurement with AI. We have been hard at work behind the scenes, and I know that today's session will give you valuable insights. A few housekeeping reminders prior to starting. Please feel free to ask questions using the chat functionality. We will try to address all questions, but in the event that we don't have the opportunity to address your question, please rest assured that we will follow up with you after the live. Now, for a quick introduction to both. Abhinav is a senior director in the consulting practice at GEP. He has 20 plus years of experience in maintenance, operation, and procurement and supply chain consulting. He leads large-scale procurement transformation and strategic cost reduction engagements for our clients, with his current focus being on customers in the Middle East region. Abhinav has led digital process transformation and change management projects for clients in a wide variety of sectors and across all major geographies, helping achieve significant improvement in business outcomes. Mohana is a manager in GEP's consulting team and has extensive experience working with global clients on procurement transformation, process design, category management, and rapid sourcing initiatives. She has a diverse background working in a variety of industries and managing a wide range of categories such as MRO, capital equipment and services, IT logistics, and more. Now off to you, Abhinav and Mohana.
Thank you so much, Beth, for the introduction, and welcome to all the participants who are joining us today from across regions. My name is Abhinav. We'll quickly go through the agenda for today. So if you go to the next one, Monish. We will start by talking about the importance and benefits of procurement transformation and process transformation in the procurement world. Then we will talk about how technology is an essential driver for such process transformation activities. Then we will talk about how AI and particularly Gen AI is bringing transformative impact on procurement processes. We will spend a good amount of time on these and try to understand applications of Gen AI which are already there or are emerging. Gen AI, as many of us know, has taken a big leap in 2023 and is expected to take an even bigger leap in 2024. So this is a very opportune time to talk about this topic. Then we will talk about implementation a little bit. So what steps firms should be taking to start on the journey to developing AI-empowered processes. And at the end, finally, we will take some audience questions. We will take as many questions as we can. So that's the agenda for today. But before we dive in, let me start with a quick overview of GEP. So if you go to the next one, please. GEP is a global leader in procurement and supply chain services and technology. We are completely focused on procurement and supply chain, and we have deep expertise in this domain. We are not in any other verticals. So quite focused on this domain. Very global in our footprint of clients as well as our own footprint of GEP offices. 550 plus customers around the world, and we serve them in some 110 countries. Similarly, 27 GEP offices around the world, and we have strong presence in all regions. If you go to the next one, please. So there are three prongs to our offering overall, which is consulting or strategy, managed services or outsourcing, and technology. We have industry-leading technology solutions for procurement and supply chain, which are called GEP Smart and GEP Next, respectively. And in all the three areas I just mentioned, consulting, managed services, and technology, we are individually in each of these three areas, we are a global leader as rated by top analyst firms like Gartner and so on. So global leader in each, but then the differentiator for GEP is that we have an end-to-end offering across all of these. And clients can use us as a one-stop shop for their entire end-to-end requirement across services and technology in the procurement and supply chain domain. So this end-to-end offering is really the differentiator for GEP. So that was a quick GEP introduction. Now we will dive into the subject matter. So talking about process transformation, we have seen that systematic process transformation efforts lead to great dividends for procurement organizations and firms. And we, as GEP, we have done many of these process design efforts for our clients. This type of process transformation engagement or initiatives, they help in defining standard best practice processes that enable optimal use of limited procurement resources, and they help in finding the right balance between speed and risk management. I can share some examples here in terms of uh, what we do through these process improvement efforts. So, for example, threshold based sourcing, wherein we deploy maximum procurement resources to those procurement requirements which are high value, high criticality, high risk, and less resources to other requirements to optimize limited, procurement resources. Another example I can give is approvals and milestones framework. So, what is the degree of approvals which is being used, and to strike the right balance between two extremes of, on the one hand, using too many approvals such that it slows down the process, and on the other hand, using too less approvals such that there are not enough checks and balances and it causes risk. So that's another example. Yet one more example which I can give is uh, deploying all the right steps in the strategic sourcing workflow. What are the right things to do in terms of market research and including the right suppliers and so on and so forth. What are all the right steps? Many companies we see are there are gaps in their processes. So those are some examples that kind of process design is important, and it's also important to define clear roles and responsibilities for everyone involved, procurement team and other teams also, so that everyone is working off the same common understanding of the workflow and process. Um, so, in this journey of process improvement, technology enablement is a strong element, as most of us know. And now, if we look at the chart we have shown here, the first stage in this chart is those organizations which are least mature in their process maturity journey. And for such organizations, we see that there is limited tech deployment. There are gaps in their process digitization, where there are sub processes which have not been tech enabled, or there is a tech landscape but it is very fragmented. There is a patchwork of systems which is being used. Information is not flowing seamlessly across systems, or they have systems in place but they are very old systems from 10-15 years back, which really don't have the latest modern functionality which is available in today's technology tools. So that kind of characteristics we see in organizations which are least mature relatively. And then the maturity journey involves developing standard streamlined workflows that are enabled by technology, like S2P platforms, like other automation solutions, and so on. And this kind of tech deployment then helps in achieving great results on efficiency, productivity, and other key procurement results like cost takeout, cost savings, and so on. And in our experience, we see that many companies have already gone through one or two rounds of this type of tech deployment, and wherein they've reached the stage two, which we have shown on this particular page. Now, beyond this stage two, what we are seeing with the fast evolving Gen AI capability, there is another leap possible beyond this in achieving transformative procurement outcomes, which we will talk about in the rest of the presentation today. So if we go to the next page, please. Yeah, so we were just talking about process streamlining and tech enablement. So far, when we talk about tech enablement, traditionally, that tech enablement has meant use of end-to-end unified S2P tech solutions, RPAs, rule-based chatbots, and limited or no use of traditional AI. AI has been there for a long time, and that traditional AI and other RPA solutions, the use cases from those kinds of capabilities, they have been mostly around automating transactional activities which fall primarily on the procure to pay or P2P side. Examples of this kind of use cases could be basic spend analysis, use of RPAs for PO follow-ups, OCR-based invoice data extraction, basic guided by functionality, etc. So a lot of these use cases which are there from basic automation and traditional AI also have been on the automation of transactional activities, and there has been very limited use cases or impact on judgment-based activities, which are so because of that limited impact on the judgment based activities, we have seen that the adoption of traditional AI also has been low. Now there are also other factors for the low adoption of traditional AI, but one major factor out of those is the fact that the impact has been limited. It's been mostly on transactional activities, and that's why the adoption has also been low. Now, on the other hand, if we look at the right side of the chart, we were talking about the left side, which is traditional AI and basic automation. With Gen AI, it is enabling use cases on judgment-based activities, which are far more prevalent on the S2C or source to contract side. And these use cases will act as a force multiplier for the capabilities of procurement teams who are doing strategic procurement work, like category planning, business partnering, supply relationship management, strategic sourcing activities. So it will impact on those activities, which are more on the S2C side. Now, having said that, the impact of these Gen AI use cases is not only on the S2C side. We are also seeing that there is a further enhancement of the existing automation capabilities of traditional AI and RPAs, even on the P2P side. So as such, the Gen AI impact is across the entire value chain of S2P. But the big difference is that while with traditional solutions, we had very limited impact on judgment-based activities in S2C, there is a proliferation of use cases on that S2C side. And we will now talk about in the next few moments, we'll talk about what that impact is. So why that impact is coming through from Gen AI and what are some examples of that impact, I will let my colleague Mohana cover that. Over to you, Mohana.
Thank you, Abhinav. Hi, everyone. So we've got to know the difference between traditional AI and generative AI. What are the distinct features of generative AI that stands out compared to the previous models? The first and foremost thing is it's built on LLMs called as large language models that enables natural language and a very human-like conversation style. And it is trained on massive internet scale of data and works with both structured and unstructured data of all types like text, video, audio, images, and so on. And as the name rightly says, generative AI has the ability to generate new content and provide insights beyond their training data set. The uniqueness is its ability to self-learn continuously and be very creative beyond their predefined tasks, existing patterns, to create new outputs that are not necessarily from their historical data. And also, it supports transfer learning. It understands natural language nuances and provides output that are radically more impactful, which makes it or which makes Gen AI stand out compared to the previous models. So, if you go to the next slide, please. So with these distinct features of generative AI, their applications can be broadly categorized into four key types. First, the effective decision-making capabilities. And then second is data-driven insight generation. And then new content creation. And finally, intelligent virtual assistants. And we'll talk about the use cases in detail. So there are multiple use cases within these four application types that spread across the end-to-end procurement value chain, encompassing strategy, planning and capability, category management, source to contract, P2P, and SRM. But this is not an exhaustive list, but it kind of provides an overview of some of the most impactful use cases of generative AI that augment the capabilities of procurement team. So I'll highlight some of these quickly and describe three use cases much more in detail with examples at later slides. So first, to start with in decision making, some of the notable use cases are budgeting support. So it supports in the budgeting process and adjusting spend baselines. Gen AI can recommend category management strategies. It can support in development of negotiation strategies by, say, recommending negotiation options, levers, and specific scenarios based on certain inputs. And another interesting use case is it can provide catalog search recommendations. So what Gen AI can do is it can significantly provide improvements in search results by doing a cross catalog analysis of all your posted and punch out catalogs, and it can provide item level recommendations based on various information such as user data, search history, your purchasing behavior trends, and it can provide very accurate and relevant search results in the catalog page. And then another one to highlight here is supplier identification and outreach. For any new sourcing or purchasing requirement, so what Gen AI can do is it can use its enhanced research capabilities to identify the right suppliers to engage with. So it can extract information from both internal sources and also external sources. So when I say internal sources, mostly like the category information, region, past performance, even the RFX award history, and then external sources like the market information, supplier financial databases to identify the right suppliers and also automatically reaching out to them for more information. And then with respect to the next application for insight generation, some of these cases includes like policy recommendations. So what GenAI can do is it can suggest regular updates to policies. So for example, it can, based on the spend history and evolving maturity of the organization, it can recommend the appropriate engagement threshold for procurement to get involved, the appropriate spend thresholds for procurement to get involved. And then the additional one is the savings opportunity identification. So typically, as category managers, we always wonder which category should I target to maximize savings this year. So what Gen AI can possibly do is it can shortlist categories, it can prioritize and list the top cost saving opportunities with data backed insights, and it can provide rationale to its recommendations. It looks at various data sources, as I mentioned earlier, like the historical spend, purchases, top suppliers, and it can compare the contracted prices across suppliers and market movements. And overall, it can help suggest the best categories to target to maximize savings this year and help category managers prioritize, plan effectively, and also improve their overall performance. And the other one is compliance tracking. So what AI can do is Gen AI can extract obligations from contracts and can do continuous monitoring of the contractual KPIs, SLAs to manage compliance and risks effectively. And one last use case to highlight here is also the emission tracking. So we can do real-time monitoring of emissions based on, say, ongoing spend with suppliers. It can analyze the supply data to understand the carbon impact of the entire value chain and also identify opportunities to reduce emissions overall. So if you could move to the next slide, please. Then content generation. So as highlighted earlier, generative AI can create new content. So it involves creating new content and not just using existing predefined templates that are available earlier. So the most notable use cases here are, so it can create tailored trainings for individual team members, say based on their role, designation, or function. And it can create customized RFPs, PR, PO, and invoices based on very specific scope requirements or user requirements. And also in terms of the SRM, it can assist in developing supplier scorecards automatically for helping in supplier performance reviews and evaluation process. And then finally, the interesting application of generative AI is the intelligent virtual assistant. So, which is one of the most prevalent use case that almost all of us would have come across is the automated help desk. It is like a one-stop shop for all types of query resolution and with reduced human intervention. So this significantly enhances the efficiency of the way customer support services operate by automating all routine tasks, providing timely responses, improving user experience, and also reducing human intervention and workload overall. And then automated guided buying. So where Gen AI tool, it can help end users buy from the right suppliers at the right time with a very intuitive user interface. So this will ensure optimal use of, say, the preferred purchasing channels or preferred buying channels, and it also drives higher compliance. So with all of these applications, now we'll dive deep and explain some of the use cases much more in detail. So the first and the foremost is automate supplier risk alerts. So supplier risk management is a major challenge for all of us in the procurement and supply chain domain. The key concern for purchasing professional is keeping up with the demand when there are unexpected supply disruptions. So what Gen AI can do here is it can assess and mitigate risk associated with, say, suppliers, market fluctuations, natural disasters, and even geopolitical factors. So it enables proactive risk management by identifying potential issues even before they escalate. So how it works is Gen AI continuously monitor the news feeds to extract information on any major event and classify the news based on risk level and impact it has to the supply of the goods affected by this particular event. So it automatically extracts supplier information, say based on location or commodities, and lists the order details with these suppliers that can be potentially impacted by this event. So as you can see here in this example, for example, there's a high risk alert of, say, cyclone in a region A, which has caused disruption in supply of raw materials. So this requires immediate attention and of the procurement purchasing professional, and they get a notification about this alert. So they want to know more about the impact. So Gen AI automatically extracts supplier information and provide further details like the supplier name, contact details, and the ongoing or the upcoming purchase orders with these suppliers. So this will help the procurement personnel to take mitigating actions quickly and look at alternate sources of supply of raw materials. And one last and interesting step also is what Gen AI can do is it can create a draft email to suppliers, say with the contact information that is already pulled out from the database. It can create a draft email with the details of the news and what are the potentially impacted orders and ask them about the, say, the expected delivery timeline. So once the mail is sent, the supplier will get an update of the order delivery times as well. So all of this is kind of being performed at the click of a button and helps in identifying and mitigating risks very early. And it avoids stockouts, it can improve planning, and also improves the overall collaboration across the teams. So that's mainly on the supplier risk management piece. And then the next demo is about autonomous tactical sourcing. So again, a very, very interesting use case. And this is applicable mainly for purchases that are often high volume, but small transactions in sense of low value and less complexity. And where generally many of procurement resources are being required to spend their time and effort on. So that's where we can start using the autonomous tactical sourcing application of generative AI, and it brings value by streamlining the process through complete automation. It drives efficiency and helps in redirecting the procurement team's focus from tactical activities to much more value-added strategic events. So what Gen AI can do here is it can automatically create RFX event. It can identify existing and new suppliers for the event. It can release the RFX, finalize the award, and also auto create the PO. So the way it works is once a requisition is sent for bidding, the system will conduct the bidding process by itself based on the configurations and the requirements provided by the user. So it automatically creates the RFX event, and then a confirmation is generated, like the second snapshot that is shown here, stating that the RFX event is created with the details of the response timeline, the list of suppliers. So it uses the existing suppliers, and it can also add new suppliers or recommend new suppliers on its own. And then it provides a link to RFX for the user to click and check the event. The system then publishes the event, it analyzes the bids, and then once the bids are bids come back, it analyzes the bids and provides an event summary. So in the event summary, as you could see, the tool provides kind of like an overview dashboard of the bid analysis and the top supplier ranking. It will then finalize the award to the top ranking supplier and then auto creates a PO. So thereby the tactical sourcing process, say the typical 3 bid and buy process, is completely automated, delivering speed to value and also reducing the overall cycle time. And then the last final use case that we will discuss in detail is the conversational RFX creation and supplier recommendation. So this is more of like the Gen AI chat assistant application, where it'll act as a co-pilot or a smart assistant and provide valuable insights and intelligence throughout the sourcing process. And it can assist category managers in decision making and provide timely insights and inputs throughout the process, as I mentioned earlier. So the end user, once they provide the info on the sourcing requirements, say in a chat box, the Gen AI chat assistant will conduct analysis based on the user prompts to search if there are any very similar requests that has been done or connected in the past. It then extracts summary of the matching sourcing event for the user reference. So based on the sourcing request scope, for example, in this case, it's IT supplies. So Gen AI recommends a few sourcing strategies that can be considered for this project. So for example, volume discount, source locally, and auto negotiate on market index rate and so on. So in specific, for negotiating on market index rate during the response collection phase, what Gen AI can also do is it can provide a backup information by listing items that are favorable and unfavorable for negotiations based on the historical market index change rate, percentage change rate. And it can also provide information on the last purchased price trends. So with these insights, the users can effectively pick and choose the right strategies that best fits for their scope. And then in the next step, with these available project information and sourcing strategies, Gen AI Assistant automatically creates a summary of the event. And it suggests RFX timelines, say based on the typical average supply response rate in this category. And then it can also create a price sheet for all line items in the scope. Additionally, Gen AI can also provide similar item recommendations that can be considered or potentially added to the pricing sheet along with a justification for the recommendation. So it identifies existing suppliers and also provide info about additional new suppliers who can be added to the event. So all of these information are being provided by Gen AI. And then once it's all finalized, the RFX is published and the responses are received. So Gen AI, what it does is it then creates an event summary and it provides specific AI recommendations for considerations by the category manager or the procurement team member involved in this RFX process. So based on the response analysis, it suggests various award optimization opportunities to maximize savings on this project. So these kind of strategic insights provided by Gen AI throughout the sourcing process will significantly improve the productivity and efficiency of the person working on the RFX team, and it help drive savings overall. So the key point to note from all of these use cases that we explained in detail is that the Gen AI recommendations are always backed with a rationale. And it includes very detailed analysis and information taken from various data sources. And that's what makes it reliable. But of course, please remember that good quality data is a must have requirement here for any tool to provide valuable insights. So overall, the Gen AI help procurement team members take very strategic decisions, quicker and smarter. And then the generative AI and ML, such advanced technologies are definitely going to make our lives much easier, especially for the procurement and supply chain professionals. So, having said all of this and looking at all of these use cases, I would strongly say that embracing Gen AI is much more than an option. It's a very crucial investment. And with that note, I would like to hand it back to my colleague Abhinav, who will talk much more in detail about the benefits of Gen AI integration and highlight some key implementation considerations for organizations. Over to you.
Thanks, Mona. Thanks for sharing that snapshot of the use cases, applications, possibilities of Gen AI. I'm calling it a snapshot only because the possibilities are so vast that you can only say so much in 15 minutes. But I think we have looked at various applications, a number of use cases across the entire value chain. And hopefully that gives the audience some flavor of really what the transformative possibilities are, are evolving. So I think just to summarize what Mona has tried to bring out through showing a variety of use cases, some of which we talked about briefly, some of which we dove into detail, is that through these applications, in the mid to long run, we see significant impact actually on procurement operating models itself. We expect procurement operating models to change because of the applications which are arising. And some of the key impacts we are seeing or we are foreseeing um, in procurement operating models are one, augmentation of category management team capabilities, of which we saw a number of use cases just in the last few minutes, wherein the work that category managers, buyers, people who are doing strategic sourcing, the work that they are doing will be significantly augmented, in terms of giving faster insights, helping in their decision making, coming up with the right recommendations from sourcing activities, and so on and so forth. So we see a strong augmentation of capabilities happening where their results will be enhanced. Uh, we used the word force multiplier earlier. So it's really going to reinforce, what people, procurement professionals are doing. The second thing to say here is that we also expect many, if not all, tactical activities to be eliminated as we go along, because the technology is fast evolving and there is a lot of intelligent automation which is coming through, and therefore a lot of tactical activities will likely get eliminated. Thirdly, we are also seeing, and we saw some use cases of this as well, a democratization of procurement activities where the end users will be significantly more empowered, and they will be able to use Gen AI for doing a lot of their activities without leaning on manual help from procurement team, right? And we are not just talking about answering queries using Gen AI assistants here. We are talking about AI agents which can do end-to-end tasks for end users, which is why we are using the word democratization, where end users will have significantly more independence in terms of self-service, doing things on their own with the help of AI agents, and what we call DIY. They can do it themselves. So these are some of the impacts we are expecting in the procurement operating models. And therefore, in terms of benefits, we have been talking about benefits through the course of this conversation. But just to summarize, the key things that we see in terms of benefits from this impact are: one, obviously, significant efficiency and productivity improvement. The things will be done faster, and so on. The second thing is the effectiveness of the results will also improve with accuracy driven by Gen AI, uh, etc. In my mind, the most important impact is that the bandwidth of procurement professionals who are doing strategic procurement work will be freed up, because a lot of the work they have been doing traditionally in terms of market research and finding suppliers and developing RFX documents and analyzing bids, etc., will be successfully done by Gen AI. So they, using this freed up bandwidth, they will be able to focus on more strategic value add tasks like co-innovation with suppliers, business partnering, and other strategic activities, looking for more advanced cost reduction levers, and so on and so forth. So that's a huge impact where the overall results of the procurement organization are set to take a step change. And finally, of course, enhanced user experience. We just talked about DIY and end users being able to do a lot of things on their own. It will significantly improve their own experience of doing procurement activities. So that's also a great benefit. So these are some of the key impact and benefits from Gen AI. If we keep moving to the next page, obviously the curiosity question then in most people's mind is, how do we implement this Gen AI applications? And we will talk a little about the implementation elements here briefly. So, of course, the call to action for procurement teams is to rapidly start planning for building Gen AI into their processes if they've already gone through basic tech enablement or deployment, which many organizations have done. So, we will quickly talk about the elements we have noted here in no particular order. So for this AI implementation journey, data is critical for the success of AI. The quality of AI outcomes is very dependent on the quality of the data that the AI is using, both for training models and ongoing data availability. So it's important for firms to invest in ensuring high data quality, ensuring that data is being aggregated from a variety of systems, both internal and external data, and putting in place processes which ensure ongoing high quality data availability. So that's on the data front. On the people front, we expect new roles to emerge. For example, on data engineering, AI operations, analytics, and so on. And firms will need to, fill these roles maybe through a combination of in-house roles and outsourced roles. Also, on the people front, we expect procurement teams and other teams to require significant training on the use of AI technology so that they have the know-how to be able to use the new tech deployment. On the technology front, very important, it's crucial to um, deploy the right tech solutions which have the correct Gen AI capabilities, AI capabilities, What we see is that leading solution providers like GEP and many others in the market are actively building AI or Gen AI capabilities in their core solutions, and they're also developing custom AI solutions which integrate seamlessly with their core solutions. So it would be useful to look at some of these technologies and build a partner ecosystem to harness Gen AI. I would say it's also important to have the right infrastructure for Gen AI because Gen AI applications need a lot of high storage capacity and computational power. So that also needs to be looked at from a technology perspective. In terms of the implementation journey, which use cases, etc., our advice is start small. So firms can evaluate a list of use cases which may be the right use cases in their environment, which are applicable in their environment, and from within that list they can choose a minimum set of use cases based on those which are highest impact and highest ease of adoption, ease of implementation. So choose a minimum set and work on implementing those and build further from there, expand from there. So that's our suggestion on how to go about it. A couple of other things I will also cover quickly. In the interest of time, I will be quick, and then we will move into questions. Ethical and responsible AI usage. There is a lot of discussion on this topic these days. There are questions around data security, data confidentiality with the use of a lot of data for AI. So it's important that organizations put governance processes in place to ensure adequate data confidentiality and data privacy. Also, it's important to understand that AI outcomes are not foolproof, and processes need to be put in place to ensure monitoring and validation of AI output so that they are not being used, uh, taken on face value and used as such. So it's important to have the mechanisms in place to monitor and validate AI outcomes before they are used. And lastly, and very importantly, right change management approach is needed to be taken, both to educate procurement and other teams on the use of the technology, and also to bring in the right incentives and motivation for them to really push to adopt the new technology in their day-to-day ways of working. So change and communication, very very important. So these are some of the key elements from a implementation perspective. With that, we come to the end of our presentation today. Again, I would summarize that for those organizations who have done basic tech enablement, they should definitely take action on planning their AI-based process design journey. So with that, we will move into questions. We will take some audience questions. There are some interesting questions that we have here. The first question, it's a question which I expected. I'll pose that to Mohana to answer. So the question is, do you foresee AI replacing procurement teams or large portions of procurement teams in the future?
Okay. Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Indeed, we do expect that change to happen in the near future, but not immediately, because as Abhinav mentioned earlier, AI is positioned currently as an force multiplier that helps procurement teams improve their productivity and output, and that's significantly evident, and it's growing massively. So we do expect that change in the future for but currently looking at how things are going on, probably 3 to 5 years is the timeline that we're looking at.
Great, great. Thanks, Mona. I'll ask one more question and you can try to answer.
Mhm.
How to measure the quality of AI results?
Okay. So to start with, I would say it's important to compare the results of, say, the time and effort taken for doing a task manually versus doing it with AI. So, for example, if you say if we have to conduct an assessment of the market assessment, say, and there is going to be a lot of analysis involved for the assessment, a lot of analysis of what are the market factors, what are the category trends, and you're going to do a holistic assessment. You're going to provide a report, for example, and then for a similar kind of task, how long does AI take and what is the kind of output that it provides? So that kind of gives a validation in terms of how AI can automate multiple tasks and how it can effectively search information from various resources and also provide very valuable information that's very insightful and useful for the organization, for the procurement personnel to validate and use that for the analysis. So I think that's a good way to start with in terms of analyzing the quality of AI results. Of course, it's continuously learning, as we mentioned earlier, but with time, we see a lot of credible results coming up from AI outputs, and then a lot of activities that are being automated and then being performed by AI on its own, especially the tactical activities are going to be completely eliminated using AI technologies. So the quality is continuously improving. So we definitely see a good improvement there, and you can start measuring the quality of the AI results through through these methods that I mentioned earlier.
Great, great. And maybe one more point I can add there is that, when we talk about quality of AI results, one way to look at it is to compare with the results we were getting through manual work earlier.
Mm,
Maybe you mentioned it more, I may have missed
mm,
it. But what results and outputs we were getting from earlier manual efforts or basic automation, it's good to compare those results with the AI results to validate if the results are good. That's another way of measuring the quality. Just wanted to add that. Maybe I'll take a couple of questions, and then in the interest of time, we will look to wrap up. One question is, what kind of efficiency improvement could we expect from GenAI applications? It's a really good question. And we at GP, we have done some surveys and research on this, and we see in the market, a lot of people have also done some research on this. What we are seeing is that on top of the efficiencies and productivity improvement, which have been already obtained through uh, application of unified S2P platforms and RPAs and the chatbots and so on, beyond that, through GenAI applications, we still expect up to 40% further efficiency and productivity improvement, which is quite a significant number. So that's the kind of number that we are seeing from various research on the efficiency improvement. I'll take one last question, and then we will look to wrap up. And the question is, how do we ensure adequate adoption of post transformation process workflows? It's a great question. It's not limited to AI or Gen AI. It's a more broader question about process transformation. And I think probably the question is arising from the fact that many times organizations see that they've gone through a process design effort, but then the um, improved processes are not being adopted in the organization sufficiently. They are not being sufficiently implemented and brought into the ways of working. So that requires strong change management. And some of the points I can say here is, one, define very good training material around the new processes, including AI enabled processes, and carry out significant training for both procurement teams and any other stakeholders who are involved in those processes, and training one time good quality training, and then ongoing training as they adopt those processes in their ways of working, and have some forums where um, those teams can come back and ask questions and get some coaching and guidance and training on an ongoing basis. So one time training as well as ongoing coaching for people to you know ease into those new processes. It's also important to have leadership buy-in for the new processes, so that there is the right communication from the leadership to incentivize the teams to adopt these processes. I would say also, maybe last point for now is, it's also useful to put in place some compliance mechanisms and process adoption monitoring mechanisms in place, so that there can be an ongoing monitoring of how the processes are being adopted. And if there are certain quarters of the team where there is low adoption, then some focused specific action can be taken to ensure that those sub teams or those quarters of the team are also getting up to speed and adopting the processes. So these are some of the tips from our experience to ensure that change management and implementation. It's a very good question. So with that, we will wrap up. um, Thanks for everyone who joined us for this very interesting session. And if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out via LinkedIn, or you can reach out via the GP website. There are so many channels to reach out to us as individuals, or just send a note via the GP website, and somebody will get in touch with you. Keen to answer any questions from from the audience. So with that, let me hand it over back to Beth to close it out.
Thanks so much, Abhinav and Mohana, for your time and insights. You impact a lot in our short time here, and I learned so much. So thank you again for your time. One key takeaway I took from today's session is that Gen AI applications are said to be transformative in nature, and procurement teams should be actively planning to incorporate these in their procurement processes in order to take their performance to the next level. As Abhinav had indicated, if you'd like to gain even more on insights, our call to action to you is to check out our recently published content, which you can find by visiting GEP.com. Also, as a teaser for you, Abhinav and Mohana have recently authored a thought leadership piece that is focused on many of the aspects that we've talked about today in today's session. So if you may wish to obtain the piece, please again message one of us on LinkedIn, and when it's published, we'll be sure to send it to you. Thanks again for joining, and we look forward for you joining on our next LinkedIn Live.